Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So, I have some very good news for my winter snow lovers across the northern United States, the western United States. Just a very exciting event has been announced. There is officially now a La Nina advisory, meaning that a La Nina pattern is in place. You can see right here, National Weather Service tweeted out today, September 10th, yesterday, September 10th at 8:27 a.m. It's here, and you can see La Nina conditions are now present, and that basically indicates cooler water temperatures across these locations and drier. And this is showing the impacts on the hurricanes, as that's a pretty big concern as of now. But this video is going to be centered towards what the impacts of La Nina may mean for the winter and how the confidence is increasingly growing. So, if you guys are new to this channel, check out my other videos. Watch this video. Obviously, don't subscribe if you don't have a reason to, but if you like what you're seeing, consider doing so. And if you like what you're seeing, you could also hit the like button, the thumbs up button. That does help out a lot. So that would be very, very nice. Now, last year, if you recall, if you viewed my channel, if you watched my videos, I called for a cold winter. Did it come true? No, not at all. It was a very warm winter. Now, the fact that it was a wrong prediction doesn't really surprise me, because really it's a long-range forecast. Even this far out, with such more confidence than last year, I would say, I could still be wrong, and I guess there could be many things that go wrong, right? So definitely, this is something that is still bound to change. There's going to be tweaks, and even if it doesn't change, it could still be factored and impacted by something else. So I'm just letting you guys know that this is very, very still up to to change, and this is not clickbait. The confidence is growing for a more snowy winter, and let's start talking about that without further ado. So with the La Nina present, I just want to quickly show you what the International Research Institute at Columbia University put out, and they always put this out a bit earlier than the Climate Prediction Center does update their slideshow. If you recall, on all my videos, I use this slideshow that shows this graph, and a lot more stuff. Fortunately, they usually take a few days to update that, but that's perfectly fine. Let's take a look at this. Notice we have the chances. They really just shot up to almost 80% confidence of a La Nina occurring really this fall. So, like I said a couple videos ago, if you recall, that La Nina may be already in place, and it was already, because it has been in place for a while. They just haven't made an update on it, and that's what I was expecting, as really the cool temperatures over the oceans were overwhelmingly showing evidence of being cool and indicative of a La Nina. Notice chances are very high. They do decrease through the winter. This doesn't necessarily mean that the La Nina will be weakening. It's just that they have lesser confidence around this time frame, since it's further out. But what they're saying is that most likely they have an 80% chance of it continuing into January, February, March, and even into February, March, April, which is really the snowiest time of the year for the Northern Hemisphere United States. So this is what a typical La Nina pattern looks like for the United States. Let's take a look at this. We're done showing you that they're confident in it, and they're showing you a La Nina. They're showing that a La Nina will occur. Well, now let's look at the impact. So notice we have the polar jet stream really riding to the north, and that's because we have a high pressure right here. Usually there's also correlation with very warm waters across the Gulf of Alaska, and that kind of sends the jet stream to the north, the Pacific jet stream to the south, and that brings wet and cool conditions across the northwest, which also overlies with cool conditions from the polar jet stream. So really, the northwest this year, I'm the most confident in seeing lots of snow, and even some of the lower elevations, Seattle, Portland, may be getting in on some above average snowfall this year. Notice into much of the northern plains, the cool air extends on average. Each La Nina year is different, right? But there are certain things that we could point out and notice that are more likely to occur during a La Nina year. One of the things that are more likely to occur is colder air across the northern United States. Now notice this is centered across a good portion of the northwest, not really the Great Lakes or the northeast. Again, oftentimes this does make it way into oftentimes it does make it way into the Great Lakes and into the northeast. But sometimes it doesn't. So again, that's a factor that is tough to see, and we'll have to wait, I guess, a little bit further and see what NOAA puts out, any additional information we could get. Notice we also see an area of wet in this graphic. It's very small. You can see there's many graphics that look green right there showing the same thing. That wetness sometimes could override with cold air, and that could produce a snowy season even as far south as the Mid-Atlantic, Virginia, North Carolina. But there are La Nina years where those areas are typically snowless and drier, or warmer, but they're still wet. So we'll have to see. There is also a possibility for several nor'easters this year, an increased chance, if you will, because of the pattern. The La Nina sometimes patterns, they do sometimes produce a pretty substantial threat for nor'easters. But generally, another thing I'm confident about, unfortunately, if you live like in Texas, Alabama, Mississippi, especially the lower portions, really it looks as if a drier and warmer winter is on the schedule. And again, each La Nina winter is a bit different, but this is the trend. And out of like say 20 winters that have occurred in the past that were La Nina, 16 or 15 or 16 occurred having dry conditions. So really, the odds are against you. But it is good news for the northern United States to see a lot of snow and above average snow. And let's take a look now at the Climate Prediction Center. I want to show you this ENSO temperature and precip composites. This is something I discovered not long ago, and it's actually very, very useful tool, and I wish I had it earlier. But, you learn something new and you find something new every day, and I'm grateful to have this resource. So let's start by clicking at La Nina temperature, since that's what's expected to occur. And it already is occurring and expected to continue into fall and winter. So let's take a look at the La Nina temperature. Now, this is where my confidence goes really, really high, or higher than it would be. Because, we see a La Nina pattern. The La Nina pattern is supposed to occur. Usually, a La Nina pattern ends up like this. But that's just, just the regular confidence, if you will. What brings my confidence up even more is that this year so far has been behaving like the classic snowy La Ninas. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So this was July, August, September temperature anomalies across the United States during La Nina timeframes. Notice, we usually received a lot of warm air across much of the central United States and a bit cooler across the west, but not you could see not widespread. And if you were to look at the composite for July and August, or the beginning of September, it looks much like this. I mean, most of the United States is under warmth this summer. It's been a record-breaking year, and a perfect indicator of that is just open up the news headlines, and you can see all the wildfires occurring across the West: Colorado, Utah, Oregon, Washington, California, just everywhere. And there's red flag warnings all up. And that's, indicative of a dry and hot summer. Now, as we push into August, September, October, notice we get even more of these warm colors, warm temperatures. And I completely agree with this. I think we'll be looking at, a warm fall. Back in June, I called on one of my videos that the summer looks to be warm, and if it's not going to be warm, then that's a bit problematic for our La Nina situation. And I was honestly hoping for a warm summer, as that supports the pattern of a La Nina. And this year we've had a very warm summer. I mean, anywhere you live across the United States, you would find people complaining about the heat. So that was pretty good, right? So we got a hot summer, warm summer, classic of a La Nina. That is good news. But now we are looking at fall. There's a bit iffy. I mean, if you recall, we just had a giant snowstorm across Wyoming and Colorado, and there was very much cold air with that, a lot of cold air. And what the future holds is a bit uncertain. Will we see more cold air or warmer air? And you could see that with a La Nina typical winter, August, September, October usually are pretty warm. So if you want a cold winter, you should hope for a cold fall. Or if you want a cold winter, you should hope for a warm fall. Sounds a bit counterintuitive, but that's the case with these years. September, October, November, the composite of all these 3 months, you can see that the warm air is still there. It's definitely really dominant over the cold air, but it's weakening. You can see it was the most dominant across October, August, September, October. But now September, October, November is diminishing. Now October, November, December, it further diminishes, right? Still, I think October will be the hottest month of this fall. And I wouldn't be surprised if by November, December, we start seeing some cool-offs. And notice, by November, December, January, we start seeing the cool air rush into the northern United States. The warmer air stays to the south. And then by December, January, and February, we see a dominant cool weather pattern across much of the northern United States, and the south remains warm. You can see that the frequency does increase, and the trends do support that. So now let's take a look at the La Nina snow. La Nina snow is obviously to do with the overlap of cold temperatures and above average precip. So for the fall, again, it looks really not anything particular. Maybe a bit more across the northeast and the northwest. I would not be completely disregarding that fact. Especially the northwest could see some early snow this year. And if we push further into late fall, notice we get strong anomalies of heavier snow across the northwest, though it remains pretty snowless across the Midwest. But notice that by the Ohio Valley, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, we do see some frequency of above average snow possibly, and in around this time frame. And then as we push into the classic winter months, you could see we see a further increase across the north and the northwest, and really a bit spotty, if you will, because the snow is a bit less, a bit less correlated with the La Nina, if you will, because we need a colder and above average precip. But then look at January, February, March, we see the blue colors take over. So overall, even if it doesn't come at a, if you will, correct time where you want it, it looks as if much of the northern United States, especially the northwest, will be dealing with a snowier winter and obviously a colder winter. And again, it looks as if the south will be generally drier and snowless. But I mean, you can see there are some little pockets of blue right here showing we could be looking, at some years did produce snow of across the south. And these are composites of many years. I wanted to point that out. You can see these are the years, 16 cases. So definitely something to inform you guys about that. This isn't just 1 year and how every year played out. Each year has its own, if you will, scenario, but there are some things we could point out that are more likely to occur. I want to quickly show you the slideshow. I want to breeze through this as we are already at a almost 10-minute video, and I want to take a look at this. So obviously I already showed you this is updated. We are looking at a much higher chance of a La Nina. This was created back in July or June. This was created back in June, the slideshow, and I already was thinking it. I'm thinking right now. So not much hasn't changed, and obviously by the title of the video, the confidence has grown. So basically what I did in the slideshow was I looked at years that had a start of an El Nino, like this year, a middle kind of neutral, and then transition to a La Nina, which we are in right now. So there weren't that many years that had that, because there were many years that had La Nina winters, but they didn't have that same setup. Right, so what I did was track back all the way to 1960, and I only found a few years, right? And out of those years, I mean, the first one that I chose was the 2010, 2011. And I didn't choose 2016 or 2017 because that year just came out of a record-breaking El Nino, so that could have skewed some of the statistics. So I chose 2010, 2011. Now I want you to notice a trend here. Notice, cool across the west, warmer across the east. Really, this was a slightly different La Nina than this year, but generally the warm air was present. You can see September was a bit cooler for 2010. That may be the case this year. We may be looking at a cooler September across the northern United States. That's still, even if we see a cool September, that doesn't kind of disregard the fact that a La Nina, snowy La Nina won't be coming, because if you look at for example, October of this year, it warmed back up, and that's what I think. Even if this September does turn out to be cool, I think October will be warm. Notice by November, we see much less of the cool air or the warm air, and then by December, we see cool air. January, we see more cool air, and February, we see a lot of cool air. And this is the composite from November to February in terms of precipitation, you can see right there. So generally, precip is a bit more harder to predict, but that's what we have. Now let's take a look at another year, 2007. You can see, similar to this year, very warm, limited cool air. September, in this case, was a warmer month. It was cool across the west. That hasn't been the case this year. Again, September seems to be the most variable month. Now, if you look in October, you could see warm. That seems to be a alarming trend that this October may be very warm. That's why I have the highest confidence in October. Then November, you could see less of the warm air, still there though. And then by December, we see the La Nina setup, cooler or warmer across the south and cooler across the north. January, you could see more of that, a bit warmer across the northeast. That's, each year is different. That's what we mean. And then you can see February, it got chillier again. And this is the composite in terms of precip. You could see the Ohio Valley and Northeast staying above average. The Northwest really staying just around average, maybe a few pockets of below and above. This year, 2007, 2008, was a really just a typical La Nina occurrence with no extremes, if you will. Now let's take a look at 2005, 2006. This is an example I want to show you that may happen this year. I mean, you can see August was a bit cooler across the central United States. So it doesn't look already like what we saw this year, but regardless, still following the trend. There's a lot of warmth. September, a lot of warmth, a bit chilly across the west. Not really what we're seeing this year, but again, September seems to be the most variable month. October, warm, so again, supporting that trend. November, it stays, alarmingly warm, and then for this year, we see a bit of cool air across December, but really January goes right back to being hot, and that isn't really what we would want this year for snow. But again, it's an example of to show you that this was a La Nina year, and this is what happened. So this is definitely still a possibility. And then you can see February it did cool off, and this was the precip for that year. Wetter across the northwest and kind of extending to the Great Lakes, drier across the south. So definitely some characteristics were there, just not everything. Now let's take a look at 1995. Oh, this year was just an extreme La Nina year on the cold side. So August, very warm, right? September, a bit chillier, so kind of what we're seeing this year. October, really, this year, 1995, didn't show much warmth. There was quite a bit of cool air, but definitely no signs of warm air. That wasn't the case. There was warmth across the southwest and into the northeast. And then November, it got really cold, stayed warm across the west. December stayed cold across the north and the east, while it got continually even warmer across the west. Then January, it just generally cooled off, especially by the northwest British Columbia. Stayed still a bit warmer across the northwest. And then February, it kind of got closer to normal, but mainly still cooler. And this was a precipitation. You could see a wetter northwest and a wetter Great Lakes. So overall, the confidence, this was a very long video, but overall the confidence is very high, I would say, for a warm fall. And for a winter, a snowy winter and cold winter, I would say it's definitely growing. So it's definitely good news for the snow lovers. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all guys in the next episode. See ya. Bye.